everyone. I'm your host, Heather Ashley, and welcome to another episode of Women of Her Story, a podcast dedicated to celebrating women who have made or are making their mark on our society. Today, I have with me actor and producer Laura Hunter Drago. Thank you so much for joining us today, Laura.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. How's your day so far?
It's good, just sitting in my house like every other day of 2020.
It's like the Truman Show. Every day is just, it's like the Truman Show and Groundhog Day wrapped into one, right? That's what it feels like.
Have you seen Palm Springs on Hulu?
No,
It came out last month. So it's like it's sort of like an updated Groundhog Day. It just came out, and they like couldn't have timed their release better because it feels very much this year.
Oh
so
no!
Highly recommend.
Is it too real?
Springs.
Is it too real though?
No, because it's a comedy and it's like a romantic comedy. So it's actually a pretty light film. But just that the repetitiveness, it works for this year. It's a good vibe.
So let's just get right into it. How did you get into production?
So, it's kind of, I think, actually a common tale. I started out as an actress, and I went to New York University, lived in New York, did the whole thing there of auditioning, and moved to LA, kept auditioning, and started getting frustrated and feeling like I wasn't doing what I wanted to creatively. And then a lot of the women around me started getting into filmmaking, getting into production, directing or writing. And I was like, I can do that. And so I did. And I think it's weird that when I started out with acting and I started getting into film, I really loved being on set, and I loved like watching the behind the scenes stuff and seeing what everybody's different jobs were. And I should have probably like attached to that more, like, oh, you really like this side of things. But yeah, it's been fun. So yeah, I started out as an actor and then slid right into production over time.
Sometimes that's when you're not doing what you want to be doing in terms of like being cast and things, and then you find yourself looking at breakdowns and you're like, I guess I fit this breakdown, but do I want to be another like girlfriend? And that's my whole
prostitute
story arc. Yeah. You're like, is that I'm better than that.
Yeah.
Let's write my own stuff. What's your no, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say that I kind of took, during the process of making the last film that I made, I ended up taking like 2 years off of auditioning completely, and was fine with it, but then ended up feeling like I was missing it a little bit, and I got back on like the casting websites and stuff, and I just remember the first couple of weeks being like, oh, that's right, this is why this is so annoying, because everything is like waitress with like 2 lines, or a hooker, or a mom that doesn't really have anything else going on. It just is like, okay, well, I did this. I don't really know.
Yeah.
About it.
Yeah. And that shows that, creating your own stories can be so rewarding in a way that is totally different than even finding your dream role. You're like, if you can create a role and then star in your own role. I keep thinking of like Lin-Manuel Miranda. That's what he does. That's like, like that type of thing where you're just like, fine, if you're not going to cast me, I'll do it myself.
Yeah. What's funny though is that I always tell the story of the movie I just worked on. Originally, that was my intention, was to like cast myself in one of the roles. And then like the further we got into production, I was like, I don't have time to act in this. And then I realized I didn't really even want to act in it. And I'm so
Mm.
glad, like looking back, I like recast myself with a friend from college. And I don't know, I just don't think I could have even, because most actors don't really like watching ourselves. And I ended up like spending so much time in like post-production and editing. I just think it would have driven me crazy
Oh my
to have to
gosh.
watch myself that many times. And I just didn't really miss it. So it was kind of funny that like originally it was this idea of like, oh, this is a way I can like make something, but also promote myself as an actor. And it just ended up being like, I enjoyed so much more watching everybody else perform and
Mm.
getting excited about the people that we were working with and seeing them doing what they wanted to do. I think that's the best part about producing is seeing other people get to do what they love and kind
Yeah.
of giving them an opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what is your favorite part of the production process?
Yeah, I think it's that that feeling of I've given somebody else the chance to do the thing that they're passionate about. And I've even had some women that I've worked with come back and say to me later, oh, that we get another job, which is like that's the thing to hear. And then I love being on set. So like the couple days where you're actually like in production and getting to be around everyone and just feeling like the energy and seeing stuff kind of all come together is really my favorite.
That's
The part where I'm at home and like in like hours and hours of administrative tasks alone for years is my least favorite part.
Oh, I'm sure. Do you have people assisting you in that post-production?
Would you say?
Are we cutting out? Okay, yeah. Do you have people assisting you in the post-production aspect, or is it primarily you?
So I end up being sort of the kind of like focal point where I'm like dealing with other people. But yeah, we were working with editors and sound
I
designers
s-
and
I see what you're
composer who
saying.
was amazing. So yeah, I'm sort of just managing all the different moving parts, and it ends up being that you're dealing with so many things, and I think that's something, especially even like actors kind of forget in the process that like the producer has like 1,000 things that they're dealing with, isn't necessarily having time to like devote to like just one. You're juggling a whole bunch of stuff, and your experience of the film, like that was something for me as an actor I didn't realize before producing, was like, you go to set as an actor, you have your day, give your performance, and that's sort of it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the people who are behind the scenes working on the movie for like the next couple of years have lived with it for so long. It's a totally different experience for them. And it's just kind of funny. Like people, as an actor, I never realized how much work goes into like coming up with the perfect music for your performance and coming up with the perfect edit and color correction and just all sorts of things that make everything come together. There's so many people involved by the end that it's really overwhelming.
Right, right. And especially in the like administrative role that you were saying, where you're the contact point for everything. Probably got 15,000 binders, right? Like
Yeah. Well, no, I have one that's extremely full and it's like demolished. Actually, it was just because we just released the movie. I kind of was like, I'm gonna put this on a shelf now. And I was laughing at like how just it's
torn
been
up.
three years and it's like there's just so much in there that is crazy. But yeah, it's also really fun and
Oh,
exciting. So
yeah, I'm sure. What has been your experience as a woman in the industry so far? Having
um
to deal with all these people. Yeah.
yeah. As an actor, I definitely went through all of the stereotypical weird situations where, you're at an audition and it feels really unsafe or
Mm,
and then just like we were saying, the types of opportunities that you get are not necessarily, things that you really want to be doing. I just like I have a running joke about how many prostitute auditions I have been on, because I think it's just the blonde hair. Like it just like that's just what it's like she can't be a mom, but she could be a hooker. And you just feel a little bit like, okay, well, I guess that's what I'm doing.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, I think even not just for women, but actors in general are not really in a position of power until they achieve some kind of fame. And even then, I think it's a little bit less than people think.
oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, and then as far as production goes, I have been essentially working for myself for all of this. I'm not really like, I'm not on like a big set working as a producer, like a small capacity or whatever. It's like
Right.
indie film where it's really just me. So that's been a totally different experience where I've kind of been the decision maker. And really my goal with the production company that my friend Samantha Mocker and I formed is to create work for women. And the film that we just did is an all-female cast and creative team. And so
Mm.
that's been more about me like trying to lift other people up, and so it's just a totally different experience because I kind of put myself in a power position
Mm-hmm.
versus that actor thing of having to wait for somebody to give you permission to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also you're able to choose who you're going to work with. So
Hmm.
that has a huge effect on just like workplace environment where you're not dealing with people who are going to question your decisions because of you being a young woman.
Yeah, and most of our set, are people my age or younger. Everybody's really excited. This really great energy. We just, even the people that I hadn't known all that well going into it ended up, it all worked out really well. And that's something that like I think is really important when you're picking people
Mm.
to work with. Like I try to make a point when I can, like this year obviously it'd be really hard, but of like taking people to coffee and just kind of getting a feel for the vibe and how they work with other people. Like I wrote an article once about a makeup artist, like looking for a makeup artist for a project, because I think as an actor, I've experienced like that particular position is actually who you spend a lot of time with as a performer right before you go on.
Yeah.
And you're not really, everybody else is kind of busy. That's somebody who's like really focused on you, and it can dramatically alter the way you feel about yourself and your experience for the day, and not just like their talent for doing makeup, which is obviously really important, but just the personality and having somebody
Right.
that can kind of calm you down or have like a relaxed chat with you so that you're not going in stressed.
Mm.
So that was a really big thing for me. We found some amazing girl, Francesca Martin, who now is like doing awesome stuff. Find her on Instagram. She's like shooting for Vogue and stuff. She's fantastic.
Oh my
Actually an
gosh.
amazing makeup artist. But I hired her at the time mostly because I think she was relatively new in town, and she was just so cool and really nice. And actually a ton of the actors told me afterwards, like, oh, I had such a great conversation with her before I
Oh.
went on. And it was just a really important, I knew we would be so busy because it was this small project that like we had to have at least somebody that they could kind of connect with before going in. So I think
Mm.
thinking about stuff like that's another thing I like about being a producer, is being able to kind of like create that atmosphere and make sure that everybody's doing okay. And
Yeah, something specifically with like costume and that kind of and makeup, hair. Uh I don't want to generalize, but there are people out there who, while they're doing your makeup, will be
mm-hmm,
like, "Oh, we need to cover this part of you because
mm-hmm,
it looks bad, especially on camera." And you're like,
yeah,
"What?"
yeah. I've had a lot of those experiences on set where, and some people are great, but I have definitely had either like really weird gossip situation, like strange tension from the makeup trailer, or like you're saying, like they're commenting on your skin or your nose, and it's like, let's just not like, don't tell me that right before I have to go and be on camera.
Yeah. And then same with like wardrobe. They're like, "Ooh, you should have probably lost 10 pounds before this shoot." And you're like, "Wow."
Yeah. I think you're actually a size 8. Like little,
Yeah,
like
like really rude about it. They're like,
mhm.
"Maybe You're like, oh my God, what? Oh my gosh.
I didn't
Yes.
need to start my day
Yeah.
with body shaming.
Yeah, like
I'm good.
what is this? Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that there are producers out there like yourself who are actively working on trying to create a better work environment for the people on set, for your actors, because that's just something that I feel like a lot of people don't even consider, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it comes from being an actor and having had
Of
the
course.
experiences, but at the same time, it's like you're literally the whole idea is that you need to create a situation where these people can perform to the best of their ability. So you're actually not just making their day better, you're making your project better by having everybody be kind and in a good
Mm-hmm.
mood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you are the ace. Ooh, words are kind of hard today. What's going on? You are the assistant editor in chief at Ms. in the Biz. Can you tell us how you ended up with them and what the organization is all about?
Sure. Yeah. So that is Miss in the Biz was founded by this awesome woman named Helena Santos, who's become a really good friend of mine. And she started it, like 7.5 years ago. And the site, we actually just archived it. So now there's like thousands of articles and like 300 different writers that worked for the site over the years. And it was
Wow.
over 1 million page views, all advice and tips for women entrepreneurs in the entertainment industry. So for everything from actors to producers to writers to script, you know, editors, script readers, legal, anything
Right.
that you could want if you want to be a filmmaker is seriously all on the site. So if you haven't ever checked it out, it's a really great one in terms of just getting advice from other people who are doing it.
Yeah.
But that was a really great experience for me, and I owe like a debt of gratitude to them as far as like inspiring me to feel like I could produce. And I've told Helena that I'm like, I don't think I would have done this stuff if I hadn't like been around this community of people that were really, a lot of them in the same situation, like had been actors for a long time and started to transition and take a little bit more
Mm.
control. And it was just really cool to see. And there's so many people from that group that are doing really awesome film work.
Mm. I love that. That's so cool. That's such a great community to have. Something that I feel like isn't always broadcast in the entertainment industry because it's thought of to be as this like cutthroat, like only room for this girl or that girl, and it doesn't have to be like that.
No, yeah. I mean, I wrote a piece for a website called Talk House a couple weeks ago that was sort of about that topic of like, I grew up doing like middle school and high school theater, and we were all so competitive with each other. And I think partially because, especially for women, the roles when you get down to high school and the plays that can actually be licensed are limited, and a lot of them are older just because of the way it works. And
There's
so
like, mm-hmm.
yeah, you go back 20-30 years essentially to get your material. And if you think about like the way things have evolved, well, this shift with women really didn't start hugely happening until a few years ago. So you're not going to see that sort of like trickle down for a while. And so I think, we were doing plays that had like 3 girls in them. We had like 50 girls auditioning, and then there'd be like 6 boys that auditioned and they all got part, it's just like,
Right.
so you just didn't have you were set up to be competitive with each other. And then I think when I went to NYU for acting, there was a lot of that vibe still with people. I think there's so much stress. It's expensive. Everyone tells you, even if they're not in the business, everyone and their mother will be like, if you say, oh, I want to be an actress, they're like, oh, it's really competitive. And so you're like, okay.
You're like, I guess it's competitive.
Right. I have to like have this mindset. And I think we grew up with like a lot of media portrays the industry as that sort of like
Right.
audition and like girl breaks some girl's leg or whatever.
Like Sharpay in
Yes.
High School Musical.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, there's definitely some of that, but it also, I think the longer you stay in the industry, the more you start finding people that are like, let's just help each other. Because honestly, there's so little you can do in terms of like, you can audition for the same role as your best friend, and they're just going to pick the person that works for them. It has nothing to do with like anything,
Yeah.
talent, anything. There's so many factors with casting that's like, you can't take it personally, and there's really no point in competing with each other, because you should just all want each other to succeed. The more people around you that succeed, the more likely you are to. So
Absolutely.
it's not like, oh, she got this and now I can't get that, which is something I had to learn. And that took me a while.
Yeah.
So I understand.
And I think it's something that I feel like drives that point home is a lot of times, I don't want to say a lot of times. Sometimes I'll like, for instance, I thought I killed this one. I mean, I've never felt so good, and I didn't get a call back. And then the worst audition of my life, I got a call back because I literally, my like vibe fit what they were looking for, and like they could kind of see, okay, she just kind of is having a struggle bus day. Right. And then, it has nothing to do with anyone else. People have in mind what they want to cast, and it has nothing to do with the person before or after you. It does not matter.
The best thing that you can do really is just like go into it with a good attitude.
Yeah.
And like, that's sort of all you have control. I mean, like, know your lines, but like, I mean, it's just, there's so little that you can actually control. So it's needless to compete with other people. And I do think that it can be really isolating as an actor. That's one of the things that I always found to be so hard about it. Like, I'd be jealous of my friends that are like in bands, because they have like a whole group of people to always sort of communicate with, and you can just play music together, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard you look like a freak if you're like, I'm just gonna monologue here by myself. And so I always felt like, this is like really isolating. And it really wasn't until I like started forcing myself not to like network, like the LA idea of like networking, but to like actually network and meet people where we could help each other and connect with each other and commiserate about stuff, that I started to like actually move forward in my career, because all of a sudden I had people around me that like were inspiring me. I was doing things for them, and it wasn't this like weird, like, relationship where it's like one person is trying to get something out of somebody that's famous, when you go to like an LA party and like everyone beelines for the CW star, and it's like, what are you going to you want his autograph? Like, what is that going to do? Like, go and meet the people that are going to be your peers, so that you can help each other. I mean, meet the CW guy, but like, don't make that the only like thing that's important to you when you're networking with other people.
Right. Because then that also makes you, especially if you try to like network and be like, hey, like, when's your next project? And they're like, I don't know, I'm an actor. Like, I don't know, I can't do anything for you in my position right now. What do you want me to do for you?
Yeah, they have no idea. I've known friends that become like series regulars, or they book a big movie, and suddenly everyone they know is like, oh, what can you, they literally can't do anything for you. Like, I'm sure they'd love to help, but like, if they're not like writing and producing something, there's little, until they're like Tom Cruise. It's like, I'm sure he could get you in a movie if you became friends with him, but not your friend from college that like booked a like, it's just not, I think it becomes really sad, because then it makes it hard for that person to kind of maintain those relationships, and it feels a little bit, I think that's isolating too for people. So
like, who's just being a leech, and it's one thing if you're actually genuinely trying to reconnect with someone and be like, I love what you're doing, and this is what I'm doing. Can we do something else together? Like, that's the way to approach it, instead of being like, get me on your show.
Why can't you get me on that? I don't understand.
Oh my gosh. Well, why don't you tell us about this last project you've been talking about, called To the New Girl?
Sure. So To the New Girl is a feature film that I produced, and that one of my best friends from high school wrote. And it was originally a play. of the same name that's been performed, I think it like maybe like 30 different productions of it at this point. So it's been performed all over, like New York, LA, Chicago,
Cool.
a lot of colleges. It's sort of similar in tone to like the vagina monologues. So 10
Mm-hmm.
monologues for women, and they're all reading letters that they've written to the new woman in their ex's life. And so they kind of like run the gamut. We've got everyone from like a young girl whose boyfriend got her pregnant and now he's just MIA, to an 83-year-old woman whose husband has Alzheimer's and she's learned that he's fallen in love with someone at his nursing home, and he obviously has no idea because he can't remember her. So it's all over the place in terms of tone and casting, and it's fun. It's a good, I always say, like, my dream for anybody watching it is like, if you've been through a breakup or a divorce and you just want to like sit down with your girlfriends and have the pint of Ben and Jerry's, this is a great movie to watch. It's got because it started as a play, it has a like real theater vibe. We made it more of an open mic night, so it's got those like roots. We kind of kept a lot of that, and we shot from the play script rather than creating a screenplay. So it definitely still, it feels like a filmed theater, but with like the bonus of having of the camera and the lighting, and
Right.
I'm trying to like elevate this idea of film theater, which is sort of ended up being an interesting thing within 2020, now that we kind of can't go see live theater. It's been kind of a funny time to release. But yeah, so we're excited about it. It just came out a few weeks ago and have had a really nice, fun release. And it's nice to get people to see it. It's on Amazon and Vimeo.
Awesome.
So inclined to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll make sure we like plug it, do all that good stuff.
Thank you.
So during the creative process, did you ever question yourself and your decisions with the tone you were taking with it, with while shooting and also in post-production?
So yeah, I mean, it was a long process. We started out with a Kickstarter, raised the money to make the film, but we shot, we had a 3-day production schedule and shot the whole movie beginning to end was $20,000, which is like $0 for a movie by the time you pay everyone. And so there was a lot of adjusting. Initially, we sort of had plans to do more like individual short films, and we moved more towards the one location theater concept in realizing our budget and stuff. And actually, it ended up being better. Happy accidents, just because we had these great actresses, and I would never have wanted to cut away from their performances for these short films. So it just wouldn't have worked out as it was. And it's funny, actually, when people watch it and they don't know anything about it, a lot of times they think it's a documentary because the actors are so good.
Oh,
like, that's the best compliment ever.
That's the dream.
Yeah. And it's fun. It's got that like stand-up special vibe. And I think it's just sort of interesting, like I was saying, that this year that it's come out, at a time when people can't go to theater, because it's like, and I'd love to see more kind of indie theater find its way to film. And I think that there is like a space for that like film theater gets a bad rep, but I think there's a better way to do it. Maybe we're like figuring something out. But yeah, also in terms of like, was I like questioning myself, definitely during production, during post-production. We had like 2.5 years of post-production, which mostly was just money versus time, where like, because I wasn't able to pay people their like normal rates, like I was like, okay, if you are able to do this, like, it's totally fine for you to do it on your own schedule. Let's just make it work. And that was kind of how we worked it. But so there would be like a lot of time in between where it was like just me trying to figure out, okay, how am I like putting all this together? And there were points where I was like, what did I get myself into? And when we were shooting too, like, there was a day, I think like maybe like the second day of production, I had to go and like get props from Target and like craft services, which I was in charge of. So like getting all the food together for everyone. And it was just like, I had a friend who lived nearby where we were shooting, and I was like, please come pick me up and like help help me like get this stuff. And I just like, I had a breakdown in their
Oh,
car. I was like, I'm so overwhelmed. I just don't, I like, there's like 50 people shooting in this theater right now, and I feel responsible for all of them. And it wasn't like anything in particular was going wrong. We actually had a very smooth, like 3 in and out 12-hour days of shooting that we were never behind at
wow,
any point. So I
that's
don't know
rare.
why. Well, that's, yes, that's all to my crew and my cinematographer, and everyone we worked with was fantastic. Our actors, there was not like a problem person at all. I think I was just stressed. It was like this feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm excited, but I also want everything to go smoothly. And, you know, it's a lot when you feel responsible for that many people at once. And it was really the first time that I kind of had that experience. And I think now I've like eased into not being stressed out by it, but there was definitely a moment where I was like, whoa, there's a lot going on here that I am responsible for.
Yeah. How did you push through those feelings of doubt of just being like overwhelmed? Well, even though it was half good overwhelmed, but half like, is this even the right thing?
Yeah, you know, I think it, like I said, there wasn't really anything going wrong. So I
Yeah.
think it was more just me dealing with my own stuff, and maybe that's that imposter syndrome type thing, or like, you know, not really just the feeling. Sometimes when there's a lot going on and you're excited about something, you get like freaked out. It's like when you first fall in love with someone and you're like, oh no. Like all of a sudden something's wrong because it's like you're excited, you know, it's like that weird thing. So I think it was more that, and more me just like understanding that everything was fine and that I just needed to like let it be that way. And I think part of like getting over that imposter syndrome is that as a producer, you're able to focus and get excited about other people. And looking outside of yourself really helps get past those feelings. Like one of the actresses in this, Lauren Castle, who is our youngest cast member, it was her first time ever on film, and it was so exciting. She like totally nailed it, and she was so excited and like just really grateful and pumped about the whole thing. And there were definitely times in the process where I would like think of her and be like, okay, I'm doing this for her. She was so, you know, just like that enthusiasm like really can push someone else through the feelings of fear or, you know, frustration.
Yeah.
Just so exciting to see somebody else get to do what they want to do, and you know, hope that it down the road helps her do more of what she wants to do.
Absolutely. That is such a great distraction or reassurance at the same time, because that's somebody who is not part of production, doesn't have any attachment other than being an actor. Not that that's not an attachment, but
Sure,
you know, it's not her baby, it's not her project, and she's so excited about this thing that you're doing. So it's you're like, okay, we're okay, it's good, we're fine.
we're
It's
like
gonna
on
be
to
okay.
something.
Yeah.
Somebody's had a good experience, and so there's worth here for sure. That's very true.
Is there someone in the industry that you admire on and off set?
Reese Witherspoon is big for me, because I just love, she's a great actress. She's fun. I love all her movies, but she's also moved into production and is doing really cool things, I think, for women in the industry. And we also share a birthday, and her real first name is Laura. So I think we should be best friends.
I think so too.
I mean, I don't understand why we're not having like a mint julep right now.
That's hysterical. You know, she's someone that I think the first thing I saw her in, Sweet Alabama, right? That was was like her first really big one, or am I crazy?
I don't know the timeline. Like, I'm trying to remember when Legally Blonde would have come out versus that, but it was all the same kind of era. Yeah.
Oh,
no, she's great.
She's so cute. She's so talented.
Yeah, she's really, it's interesting because she kind of started out in that sort of like young ingenue vibe, and she's been able to really transition throughout her career, which is awesome.
Yeah, anyone who can grow continually and like evolve as an artist is just A plus in my book.
Yeah, it's fun.
So do you have anything new in the works?
So this summer, the same woman who wrote To the New Girl and I worked on a little micro short called The Echo. It's a little animated film that we made during like April, I want to say, so like the height of the quarantine. So everything was very remote. We worked with voice actors, and that was really fun because I felt like it was nice to give actors something to do during that period. There was like so little to audition for. We got so many auditions, which is great because I still have them all, you know, on tape for later things. And you know, I just felt good. I could kind of tell from the auditions that people were just happy to have something to do, you know. So it made me feel like, okay, I'm glad that we did this right now. And that's been at a couple of short film festivals, and there's another one coming up in September, the Da Vinci Film Festival that's going to. So that's been really fun. Just and also kind of funny. Sam and I keep laughing because we spent like 4 years working on To the New Girl, and then we did this short in like 1 week, and it's going to all these film festivals and stuff at the same time as this other thing. So it's just kind of funny, like the way that it's a short, so it's a totally different thing, but we were just laughing. Like it's amazing how just different projects work different ways. And then as far as what's coming up, it's hard to know right now, I think, just because I don't know.
Yeah.
I have friends. I have one of the actors actually who's in To the New Girl is a producer of faith-based films, and she just shot a film in Georgia, and they did it with SAG, so they had to follow all of the rules. They had a rapid testing machine, and they had a COVID officer, and
Wow.
they did it like legit, and that was amazing and really made me hopeful to see. But it is hard to find, like, okay, what's safe, what's the right project to kind of like push for right now. I don't think I would try to shoot anything until next year, just knowing like the budget I would probably be working with. But yeah, right now it's mostly about, we have a couple of things that we're working on in terms of scripts and ideas, and then it's about finding funding to move forward hopefully next year with something else.
With the SAG required restrictions, how much does that affect your overall budget?
A lot. A lot. I don't know if I don't want to like speak to her film, but I know that they spend a pretty significant amount of money on getting the testing done. So, and you know, they were lucky to have the budget. They've been working for a long time in the industry and have had the budget to do it. But you wouldn't want to be putting anybody in a position where they're feeling compromised or unsafe. So I think that's the only way to do it is to have that rapid testing. And actually, I think they've changed the rules so that you now have to have the lab tests, but a lot, which are not rapid. You have to wait a few days, I think, to get the results. But a lot of the actors on their set, I know, wanted to continue with the rapids because they felt more comfortable knowing immediately, which I understand, you know, in like 15 minutes, if anyone has it. And so I think there's going to have to be like a hybrid of that, because for people's comfort level, I can understand wanting to know right away.
Right.
And hopefully we're just like out of this by next spring. I don't know.
I've noticed in New York, a lot of the calls are saying things like they'll pay you to go get the test, but it has to be by this, like on this specific day. Can't be before, can't be after. But then there's still 3 days for you to be exposed or other people to be exposed. So I see what you're saying with it being a very tricky situation there, because money is obviously a factor with having the rapid tests, because when you have the lab tests, it's, you know, they're free, and then you just pay your actor $70 to go take it. But then
a lot of the things I'm seeing here are saying that they will put someone up in a hotel, so they'll take a test, they have to stay in a hotel that night, and then they have to take a second test the next day, and then I think they go shoot.
Wow.
So it's like you're getting 2 tests and they can't go anywhere in between, is the idea.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
it's all also, I think, changing. Every week you hear new information or the tests kind of change. And so it's like, I don't think anybody really knows the complete right thing to do.
Right.
And it's hard. I understand I think it's a gray area. I was talking to a friend of mine who works in public health in Chicago, and she was saying, I think what's really difficult about this whole situation for people is that it is not black and white, and everyone is trying to make it black and white, like whichever side of the like argument you're on. And it's just neither of those things. It's like, how do we safely figure out how to continue life? Like,
right.
you can't go one way or the other. So it's definitely an interesting time to try and figure, and people are being really creative. I have friends that are in theater. One of our directors for New Girl has been doing like Zoom plays. So people are making it work, but it's tough.
Yeah, it's absolutely tough. It's a tricky situation, especially in industries that require a lot of people for one shot of one person. Like, it's hard to get around that.
Well, then you think about, this advent of like intimacy coordinators on sets has happened in the last couple of years. And now that job is going to become even more important, because how do you shoot a love scene? I even heard that they were talking about for soap operas using the spouses of the actors for love scenes.
Interesting.
But then I was cracking up about that, because then like when this is over, is the spouse like, well, I mean, I can still do that. Like, why do you have to kiss that actress? They let me do it before with you, so that's gonna get tricky down the road.
Oh, super tricky. I don't know. What about like mouth guards and like nose plugs? I don't know. Like,
right.
How do we
mask kissing?
Yeah. Weird mask kissing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, what is something that you've been doing to keep yourself from spiraling while everything is so up in the air right now?
Yeah, I've been lucky that I had this finished project that was coming out this summer. So releasing To the New Girl has been, a nice thing to have during this time. Now that that's over, I have to figure out something else to do with myself. But also I've been working out a lot, like very consistently, which was not normal for me. So at least it's like given me some sort of, personal advancement, I guess. Yeah. And walking. Oh my gosh, walking so much everywhere. I'm lucky that I live in a city that has like a ton of good walking space and really no one around. So that's been a nice thing. It's been too hot for it recently, but most of the quarantine I have been doing like 5 miles a day.
You got to get one of those little fan misters that you just walk around with that.
I used to have one of those when I was in like middle school.
Yeah.
I used to run track and I had one of those.
You got to dig it out. You got to find it.
Oh, I don't know. I definitely would have thrown that away. I'm gonna have to like go to Target and get a new one.
I'm sure they're in the like summer activity section, right?
Yeah. Kiddie pools and fans
and fan misters. Is there something that you've accomplished in your career so far that you're particularly proud of?
Yeah, I think just putting this production company together that is focused on getting women into not just like more positions both in front of and behind the camera, but especially that in this last project that we worked on, it was like, I want to say almost everyone who was the head of their like particular department's first feature film. So that was really exciting, and it's been nice to like hear down the road that it helped them book something else, or because that like our cinematographer, who's been a friend of mine for a long time, we did like a little online release party the other week, and she was saying it's really hard to get that first feature sometimes, and like it's like an actor, You've got to get like your co-star to get your guest star, and get your guest star to get your recurring. Like it's that same sort of like, and it can be like chicken before the egg for anybody in entertainment, because if somebody isn't willing to give you the chance, or they don't have the funds or whatever, it just doesn't happen.
Right.
And so she was saying like, oh, you know, I've gotten interviews in the last, since the film was released, that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And that to me is like the most exciting thing. So that I'm definitely the most proud of that, of like helping other people get to do what they want to do, because I know how frustrating it is when you're not doing what you want to do.
Yeah. What's the name of your production company?
So New Girl Pictures.
New Girl Pictures.
So named after the film. Yeah.
I get it. Okay. Awesome. So did that come about because of the creation of the film?
Yes. Yeah. So we, my friend Samantha Mocker, who wrote To the New Girl, and I formed this production company as a result of making this project and knowing that we were going to do other things down the road. So, yeah, it's fun.
That's so
we've known
cool.
each other forever, since we were like 14 too.
Oh
so
my gosh, that's a good friend. That's the kind of friends you need, you know.
We went through Catholic high school together, so we can survive anything.
You could survive anything.
Totally, anything.
You know, it's always nice to create with people that have seen you in so many different seasons of your life, because they know your tendencies, and they know like, hey, this is probably not a good idea because you tried that before.
Yeah, we're really more like sisters at this point than so we've known each other a long time.
Well, before we get to our last two questions that flew by, is there anything else that you would like to add, where we can find you, keep track of your projects, anything we didn't touch on, a good joke?
I'm not sure I have any good jokes. I'm not very funny.
That's not true. You've been funny this whole time.
I'm not funny on purpose.
Oh.
Stand up would be the thing that would scare me the most out of anything. But yes, find tothenewgirl.com is where you can find the movie. If you want to find out about the production company, that's newgirlpictures.com. And then if you want to find out about me, it's laurahunterdrago.com. So just allthethings.com.
Allthethings.com.
And I'm on Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff.
Under the same...
Search my name.
All the same stuff.
It's all there.
Well, I ask the same last two questions to everyone that comes through the show. First, what is your second favorite color?
Okay, so can I ask why you want the second favorite?
Because everyone asks what your first favorite color is. No one asks what your second favorite color is.
How to be different. No, I like it. I'm going with purple.
Why purple?
Because it was, so I went to summer camp every year when I was little, and that was like my team's t-shirt color. Like you have like these like tribes they put you in. So I always just really liked purple, but red is my actual favorite color.
Love red. Also purple. I have purple hair. Of course I love purple.
And it looks amazing.
Oh, thank you. If people are only listening, you can't see that I did a hair toss. That's why I made the voice. It's fine. Don't worry about it. All right. And last, what, in your opinion, is the best part of being a woman?
I think that the best part is that whether we choose something like motherhood or not, that we, like, women are inherently creators. And I think that that's something that's sort of like intrinsic to all of us. And we have those like maternal instincts. Like I don't have children, but I feel like I've like put that energy into things like my production company and helping other women do things. And I just think we all have a natural facility for that.
Right.
Which is something I think is really cool.
It is. That's a great answer.
I have to tell you that I think the reason I found you on Twitter was the herstory name, because a really good friend of mine from middle school was talking about how I used to write on all of my history papers in middle school, herstory at the top. Like I would refused to write history. It was like, a thing that I had
Oh my
for
gosh.
all of middle school. So I
Oh my
like the name.
gosh. Thank you. It's Kismet. That's so funny. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
goodness.
It made me laugh.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. We've had people ask us like, why her story? And we're like, do you get the joke? Do you get the pun?
Mm-hmm.
Also, I've said this a few times, so like before, so it's gonna be a little repetitive to people listening, but it's fine. I'm gonna say it again. A
It's not
parent,
going to be repetitive to me. So.
exactly, right? Who cares? So, I recently found a statistic. So, women make up more than 50% of the global population, yet we are only responsible, in quotes, for 3% of recorded history.
Jesus. See, this is why we just all have to keep on keeping on.
Yeah,
We
because
have to.
that's just not anything, right? That's not how the
I
world
believe
worked.
it.
Oh,
I believe it. It's just unbelievable.
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But that's what, that's what the show's here for, to document all of these women.
Well, I applaud you for that. I think that's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today,
you.
Laura. I just had the best time, and I can't wait to see all of the projects that you have coming out. I mean, I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch To the New Girl yet, but it is already queued up on our Amazon Prime. So,
oh, thank you. I hope you enjoy it.
It's ready to watch. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in again. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Tell your friends. It really helps the podcast keep growing. You can follow our social medias, Instagram at Women of Her Story Podcast, Twitter at the Her Story Pod. You can visit our website of herstory.com to find all kinds of new content. There's noise happening outside my door. And until next week, be safe, stay healthy, and show the world what you're made of.
This is a New York Glitch production. You all the worst.